Hello, this is Everett Pierce, and it is December the 19th, 2016. And it is official, ladies and gentlemen. It is not President-elect. It is Mr. President Trump. And what was said today is within an hour, give or take, that he had all the Electoral College votes. So, with that being said, my name is Everett Pierce, Alpha Prime, the Pie Man. My past life, Albert Einstein, Abraham Lincoln. So I know a few things. Now, if you've watched my other videos, I've said many times, in terms of people, like professors and teachers and stuff, you have people who are scholars, and then you have people who are authors. So when people write a book, say Stephen King, for example, and would say this person over here has read every book, and not only has he read every book, but he has read it many times, studied it, analyzed it, okay, and then you have Stephen King. He's the author of it. So the author himself, or James Patterson, and there's another author that, Rain Man. So we pretty much have the concept of that. He's going to know more about that book than what this person could ever extract out of that information. Because he doesn't know what's in the author's mind. Why and how and when and where's versus a scholar. Okay, with that being established, this is duly noted part 10. Now, through the authorization of energy, meaning God, Allah, Jehovah, or whoever you want to call the highest level of evolution, I call it energy. Because we are all energy. So when I call it energy, it's energy, your energy, I'm energy, everything in my bedroom is energy, as you can see. And the reason why I pan it over to the side is I have my phone on a tripod. And as you can see, I'm not reading from a teleprompter. So everything is all coming from here. I don't go to the library and I don't read books. So the knowledge in which I have, I've carried over from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. So reincarnation does exist. So basically that would explain as to why I know so much. And for some people that is very intimidating. And, okay, so in this part 10 of Duly Noted, we are going to talk about Genesis, which is of the Christian Bible. Genesis, which we talk about Adam and Eve. Now, I'm going to explain it from an author perspective than a scholar. And what I'm about to tell you is profound. Because it has never been explained. I have never explained it. Because I am an author of that. I'm an author of many books. I'm an author of many evolutionary concepts. So as you get to know me, and I get to know you, but one of the things you'll know, it'll put you in that corner. If nothing else, is that you'll be on the level of how in the hell could he not be? Because what I've learned with human behavior is, and you lose every time, okay, even though I try, to convince something or make someone believe. It's like, okay, if I was to stand here and say, I was Abraham Lincoln, I was Albert Einstein, and I can show all these facts. I could just go 10 ways to Sunday. There are some people, regardless of how you prove it with facts, and we hold these truths to be self-evident, people are just not going to believe. They just don't want to believe. In fact, they will find more reasons or enough for them that will convince them of why they are not believing you, or why they're being closed-minded as to why they don't want to hear what you have to say. Okay, so we're going to talk about Adam and Eve. Okay, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Okay, and as the story goes, essentially Eve and the snake of the forbidden tree of good and evil, and the snake, which is the representation or symbolism of the devil, how the devil deceived Eve. Deceive. Okay, that itself, deception, relates to human behavior. And as we can sit down and have a list of human behaviors that is considered negative, negative positive, or negative negative, or destructive. So, in the Garden of Eden, the beautiful, we were perfect, and in the middle of the garden, in the middle of the garden, was this tree of good and evil. Why in the middle of the garden? I'll explain that as well. I will explain the symbolism of the snake. I will explain the symbolism of Eve. Why she was painted as a scapegoat. And the logic behind it. And from Adam and his rib. And from his rib we have Eve. Now, but when I explain these things to you, if you don't have glasses, but just pretend. Put on your evolutional glasses on, and from someone who is a problem solver, who's an author, is if we're going to start life out on this sixth heaven, yes, I know it may come as a surprise to you because a lot of people teach and preach that when you die, you're going to go to heaven. Hallelujah, brother. The thing is, did anyone ever occur to you that you're already on heaven? As what we label levels, you're on the sixth heaven. Meaning the people here represent about 1%, actually less than 1%, than the total life out there. And as we know with the universe, it is huge, to say the least. Now, it is huge if you're not using the subspace of space. Because that is the quickest way of traveling. So with the speed of light, okay, if the speed of light is considered snail's pace, in which it is, okay, what would be the reverse of what you would see of the sun? Darkness. So in the subspace, which is darkness, a vacuum, that would be the fastest. And you say, what do you mean by the fastest? I mean that in using symbolism as to doors and windows, these are all symbolism. You're on an earth that is a giant schoolhouse, Noah's Ark, hint, hint. Okay. So if I open up this subspace and I want to go from this side to the Milky Way to that side of the Milky Way, we're talking seconds. Okay, that's unheard of. You say, well, that's 100,000 light years. Absolutely. So when you open up this technology, that takes you seconds. If you want to go to Mars, you know how they spend billions and billions of dollars and they're preparing people and astronauts and how many months it's going to take to get there? I can open up the subspace and I can be there within seconds. So it eliminates a lot of expense. Not to mention time. When you stop and think about it, that's a lot of freaking time. And then there's a lot of variables in between there that could stop, act like that 7-pound foot that interferes with your mission. I mean, you can imagine getting 90% there and then get hit by an asteroid. You say, shit, you've already spent billions of dollars. Now they're dead. Your vehicle's trashed. And then you say, then what? Are you going to take another chance at it? I'm just using an example. Okay, so we're going to talk about Genesis. And it's going to... I'm just excited. Okay. It's very profound because I have never explained it. I've never had the authority, the authorization, the green light from energy to explain it. Because when I explain certain things, because it has to be abundance for starters. Because in today's day of 2016, on this December 19th, is if someone comes forward and says, I'm Albert Einstein, I'm Abraham Lincoln, is what does this person who's reincarnated, what does he have to do to prove in a court of law, in a Supreme Court, which is symbolism, beyond a shadow of a doubt, basically, if you're trying to prove intent, that takes a different method. I call the chicken method, or chicken concept. If it looks like a chicken, it sounds like a chicken, it walks like a chicken, it lays an egg like a chicken, and chances are it's a chicken. So when you're trying to improve or establish intent, it's like you see what I do, and I say, oh, I'm so nice. And then inside my mind, I'm saying, fuck you. Okay, pardon my French. Intent. Okay, people have developed their sense of skill sets to deceive people. Like Adam and Eve, the snake. Okay. Now, what if I told you this story, which I developed myself, and you say, oh, you're crazy, get on some pills, Everett. I hear that a lot. Okay. Well, after I explain this to you, you're going to, I would say 80% of the people just sit there with their jaw open in silence. And so I don't know how you're going to react to it, but it is profound, to say the least. Now, not only does it establish a lot of things in terms of evolutional concepts, okay, and problem solving. Okay, so if I wrote a book at the beginning, like say, for example, we'll say Mary, the Virgin, Mary got conceived, Jesus. Okay, she didn't have sex with a man. As we know today, that artificial insemination, a woman can become pregnant. Well, you see, back then, as the evolutional people, you say, wait a minute, she didn't have sex. Well, how did she get pregnant? Well, in the midst of people's sleep, or a person could be put into, in like a coma, where they're asleep, and then you artificially inseminate them. That's how Mary was impregnated. Okay? Now, that's how they understood. They understood that concept. They just like, okay, God, divine, he can do anything. And actually, God could do it that way. But Mary was impregnated by artificial insemination, meaning higher intelligence intervened to make that happen. Okay. So God, say God, he's all powerful, he does everything. Well, you think of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and God was 9, and everything in between is all the different forms and levels of evolution. Everything has to partake. Okay. So yeah. Okay, so back to Adam and Eve. If I was to tell you, I left a key code that will indicate when I come back in 2016, what state in the United States you will find me, or where I will be born. That's in there. Yes, indeed. Okay. And it gives my birthday, December 7th. So it gives off many things. Okay, so let's start from this. In the beginning, okay, it was Adam. Okay? Adam does not have a child. Okay, so he would, in terms of 1 and a 2. Okay, Adam would represent a 1. Why? Because he only has one life. And then Eve comes in, who has a child. She would represent the 2 factor. So, in terms of hierarchy, 1 and 2. Okay, now, as in the story goes, that Eve came from his rib. Okay, rib is the bone. Now, with the human race, we are identified by our bones. And so if you're up next to T-Rex and if you're extinct, and then your bones will be here, and they say, that's a T-Rex, that's the human race, and that's the raptor, and whatever else life species that are extinct. Okay. So, boom. Okay. Now, in the chest area, which is basically where all our organs are. Now, Ben Carson, who's a surgeon, would know this because that's what he had been trained. He has to know the human body. Okay? So, in the chest area of your vertebrae, when someone says, hey there, have a backbone. Okay? Basically, our government, which is a form of religion, is the backbone to the people. So like backbone, muscle. We the people would be the muscle. Okay, so you have 12 thoracics. 12. Okay? And what would be more, in terms of hierarchy or importancy? Okay, so what would control this? This. In my neck, 7 cervical vertebrae. 12, 7. December 7th. Okay, so why from the rib? Rib is symbolism, actually several reasons. Is the rib bones. Human race is identified by the bones. She was created by the bones. You see the relationship? Good. Okay. And why she was second. She has a child, so there's 2 life forms there. 1 factor, 2 factor. So, now, okay, why the rib? Let's spell it. R-I-B. R is the 18th letter of the alphabet. I is the 9th. And B is the 2nd. Add them up. You have 29. 18, 9, that's 27. Plus 2 more is 29. 29. The 29th state of the United States is Iowa. Okay. But there's another symbolism in there. Communication. So if I take this rib and hold it up, and we'll say this, my finger represents the rib. Except for it would be kind of curved. And I'd say, this equals 29 in terms of its word. 1 to the 9. In terms of numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if God has a name, he has many names, but it would be 1 through 9. Now 0 is still it still represents the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But of numbers of value, it means 1 stick, 2 stick, 3 stick, 4, dum 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 dum. So in terms of a number, God's higher evolution would be 1 through 9. That's its name. 9 digits. Okay, when actually it's 10. Okay, so that explains that. So Eve, Adam and Eve, they were perfect. Okay, in terms using a bone. Human race. I mean, our race, the human race, is considered and established and proven to be superior. Perfect. Okay. Of other life out there, there's many forms of life. But you have to dig deep in terms of energy. What constitutes life? If it's energy, it is a form of life. Did anyone think about that? Because if energy is communicating, it also establishes personality And then when you establish these numbers and you know how to measure things and how to identify certain things, and then you get more familiar with energy. Okay, so now we have 12, 7, 29, so Iowa. Now you're looking for someone whose birthday is 12/7, December 7th. So when you start putting these variables in there, you start eliminating, process elimination, of who it could possibly be. As we see with Elvis, there's a lot of Elvis impersonators. Some of them are really good. They look like them, or Elvis. From different stages of his career. But there's only one Elvis, no matter how good they are. So when you start putting these variables, and if you're into mathematics, means variables, when you start eliminating, you're putting certain factors in there, like if you're looking for a man, and if you can automatically take out, people like to use black, okay, so I'll use the word black, but we are of the brown race. So if I say, okay, we're looking for a male, and he's white, so let's take out all the black ones. Okay, and then we say, well, we're looking for a white man who is under 6 foot. Okay, let's take all the white men who are under 6 foot. So when you start doing this, then it eliminates. Okay, otherwise the reverse of that is if you're looking for a man, and you can just, amongst the 7 billion people, one man can easily get lost. He can easily hide. Okay, so the Garden of Eden. Okay, now why was the forbidden tree of good and evil in the middle of the garden, which is, you say, well, the Garden of Eden, where is this place at? I just told you, Iowa. And you say, wow, are you kidding me? Yes. No, I'm not kidding you. The Garden of Eden, spoken in Genesis, is Iowa. If you look at the map of the United States, it's the Midwest. Middle. Now, when he said in the middle of the garden, when you say garden, was it exactly perfect, dead center? Or if it was more references, generally, it's in the middle of things if you started gauging it. Look at Iowa, Midwest. Everett, me, December 7th. Okay, so, in terms of starting out life. Now, am I impressing you yet? Does this sound, and I'm not being, what's the word? There's a word that they pass out. That basically someone who thinks they're high and mighty, but they're intelligence. I'll think of the word here. I've been accused of it, by the way. It just because people's insecurities, and that's how they cope with people who actually are of intelligence. Okay, so it just so happens my mother's name is Mary. My mother's name's Mary. My dad's a carpenter. Well, he started out being a carpenter. So my mother's name Mary. E equals MC squared. Everett equals Mary's child, second born. I'm a second born. And if you add up the numbers, E equals MC. C is 3, and then 13, and then equals, it looks like 11, and then 5. You read it this way, March the 31st, and you have 115. So if March 31st is the 115th day, then count back. That takes you to December 7th. Okay, so we're going to stay focused on Genesis. Now, the forbidden tree of knowledge. Now, I know this is beyond popular belief, that God would ever lie to me. Now, if God is Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end, and God made us in its image, and people lie, then you know God lies too. But God would not lie to us. Well, actually, that's a lie in itself. God has all the tools. But it's for the purpose of advancing evolution, not for the destruction of evolution. Okay, so we're in this we're in this garden. And he says, this is a forbidden tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, what we know today with electricity, that powers up your smartphone, powers up a lot of components, smartphones, computers, everything in outer space. It composes of a positive, negative ion. Positive and negative. You could say, what's another form of positive and negative? Good and evil. Okay, so if you chose the tree, the forbidden tree of good and evil, then that was the correct choice. So if I chose a tree and I say, oh, I know that's what he didn't, he told me not to choose that, and I did it anyways. That was the right choice. Energy wanted to test you, wanted you to think what seems to be more. And then too, if I was to have a child and I set all these color swatches, and then I see where my child will grab onto, not just one time, but many times, then that's how you know that that child likes that particular swatch of color. So I said, no, I want the good and evil. And he said, why? I said, because the two factor. You built me with left and right arm, male and female. Oh my goodness, male and female, two factor. And so I said, that's my tree. You're thinking, oh shit, there's a lightning going to hit me here somewhere. He says, you chose wisely. I said, well, why did you lie to me? It's because if I did everything for you, how are you going to learn? You made a conscious decision upon yourself, despite what I told you to do. You thought for yourself, and you made a logical decision and you had a rationale as to why you chose that tree. Okay. Now, that has been established. Now, Eve, with the snake, okay, as we know with snakes, it's low to the ground. Okay, represents negative. So, if you're going to represent a person, how high you are, further up, or even a dog, it's still higher up than a snake. So that's why a snake was used, and it curls up. As we know with the symbol of medical, the snake. Okay. So, means negative. Okay. And deception. Fooled Eve. Okay. Deception. Human behaviors. Okay. Now, it basically made Eve, the scapegoat, the bad guy. Okay. So, in terms of human behavior, it comes down, it's an easy choice. Of your human behavior, you have your logic and you have your emotional. Oop, I better not hold that finger up, otherwise someone might get offended. Not the middle finger, but okay, so your emotions and your logic. So Eve leads with her emotions with logic in tow. Adam is logic leading with his emotions in tow, which is what we see with our political party. Democrats is emotional and logic. Republican is logic and emotional in tow. And of course the third element, or trinity, which is me, that is many things put in. Okay, so that's basically, it wasn't saying that Eve was the bad guy. It was just establishing in terms of symbolism, emotion, because if these two here, emotional first and then logic and emotion, you leading by your emotion will kill you quicker than someone of logic with their emotion in tow, because they're supposed to work together, just like the presence of Adam and Eve. If Adam and Eve, if they were to fight each other like what we see in today's time, I ain't giving up this. You're not going to tap this butt. And he says, come on, baby. Come on, just give me some, man. Hopefully that was funny. Okay. You wouldn't have population. So that's why male and female. the emotions. They were meant to work together, and it was for man to develop his senses, his skill sets, to work them together in a functional way that brings man forward in evolution. So that's why that was there. But people, when you're writing a book, and you know this is going to be subjected, and it's going to be 2,000 years down the road, or 50,000 or 50 million years down the road, you have to write it according to the different evolutions that are going to be reading it along the way. Because, say for example, okay, with Mary, the Virgin Mary, if I was back then, I say, we're going to artificial inseminate her with a seed, a sperm. People wouldn't understand sperm because they can't see it. So a lot of people back then, they have to see it and touch it, because it's just some things in their evolutional development, it just hasn't come yet. In fact, we didn't have we didn't have technology to be able to amplify it, to see it. Okay, so that's why a lot of people perceived it as by divine intervention. Okay, and so then I even went, which you see with Asians, a long time ago, it's like when the man impregnated her, she would stay on her back, made sure she stayed on her back with her pelvis up, because their concept was they didn't want to spill the seeds, as if there's a seed. Well, when you show a tree and you see a seed there, they can understand that. That's why the Asians, years ago, that's why they're thinking of spilling of the seed, meaning not allowing the sperm to drip out of her, making sure she was impregnated. Okay, but that's why if you were to explain certain things to people, artificial insemination, people they have no clue. You'll lose them. And then when you go one step further, then they actually now are thinking it's a freaking apple seed. Which is, so when you're trying to put a story together for evolutional purposes, development in your evolution, you have to be in a way that along the way, eventually people are going to understand certain concepts in hopes that as they evolve, they're going to say, wait a minute, rib, like I explained earlier, okay, the rib is a 3-letter word. I'm Everett James Pierce the third. Okay, the 3, okay. So, okay, it's a 3-letter word. Trinity. As we God the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Or Holy Ghost, as they say. Okay, 3-letter word. Okay, so she was deceived. And then Adam was deceived by Eve. Meaning she took her deception and convinced Adam to also violate, okay, which also points to human behavior. And then after that, they were ashamed of themselves and they covered up. Okay, that is showing stages, just a few stages of human behavior. So once you start interjecting how you want to live your life, it's like now you're covering up your chest, and you're covering up your vagina and your penis, and you're starting to live your life the way you want to. And of course that, because now is Adam and Eve were perfect. They weren't sinners. Okay? Well, you had to explain it that way because of the evolution back then. If I was explaining it like the things that happen today, people wouldn't believe me. They'll say, what? People lie? People do this. People kill you. There's terrorism. Just certain concepts of things that when you explain it in a particular way, you lose them. Just like if I pulled my smartphone out and I'm talking to a caveman, first of all, he could perceive me as being the light god. Yes, I am the light god from Uranus. Okay. Or he could also, or she could perceive it as me. I'm there. I'm going to kill him with it. And he could attack me. It's what a person perceives of it. Okay. So just, in terms of the Bible, okay, what I'm just saying here, was there codes put in the Bibles? Absolutely. Was there symbolism put in the Bible? Absolutely. And in fact, one of the symbolism, which was actually put in the Quran back then, which will make sense. See, they're cutting Christians' heads off. Christians' heads off. Okay. Off with his head. If you're scripture. Okay, that's not what it was meant back then. People didn't understand thinking, brains, neurons, synapses. Okay, so basically it was in translation, you're saying if he's thinking illy, he's being deceptive, he's not thinking correctly, off with his head. I mean, stop his thinking. Keep him from spreading or teaching this to other people until we can talk to him or stop him or whatever he or she's doing so we can resolve this. I mean, stop his ill thinking that will lead him to extinction or being dead. Because now when you're interjecting human behavior, a lot of things can happen, especially if you don't know all the things that have been placed on this planet Earth, known as the sixth heaven. So I mean, that's pretty much in short of what we of Adam and Eve, okay, which is the first book in the Christian Bible. And in fact, the Bible, there's actually 3 Bibles, okay, with the Bible, because first of all, I should tell you that there's other books to it. That's just like the introductory to God. And then a lot of it, you have other stories like Noah's Ark. Well, if you think the earth is big and we're contained, that would be a form of an ark. I mean, and then the floods came. I mean, the water was brought here. And then the water receded and man came on land. Okay, basically, if you was stand back, we are contained. Not much different than the ark. So we have, some of the stories in there as far as how much of it is literally, how much of it is symbolically or symbolism, storyline. And so, well, this is God's book. Well, it is and it isn't. It's a book teaching you how to develop throughout your evolution in terms of your thinking. Now, you're on this planet. What's the sixth heaven? The sixth heaven is, since you chose that same tree like I did, the good and evil. You can't have lightning or electricity without positive and negative ions. Meaning the good and evil means positive and negative tools. Okay? So that's why you're here. This planet is one giant schoolhouse. So you have 2 choices. Either you learn how to cohabitate, or you become a professional extinctionist. Quite simple. Like the Noah's Ark. You have all those animals in there. If there's no order of things, and they're all free to go, they're going to end up fighting each other, kill each other, and eat each other. Okay, we got this big containment. And like we see with Berlin, Germany, this terrorist attack, which I told on the 15th, with all these refugees, million going into Germany, and the coverings that they have. That's a spiritual warfare. That was used in a particular way to deceive other people that were trying to kill them. But you can also use it in other ways to deceive others so you can come and kill them. It has nothing to do with religion itself. I mean, it's one thing that you're covered up, keep from sunburn, or you got a thing over your face because it's dusty so you don't breathe in sand. Outside of that, has nothing to do with your religion. It's spiritual warfare. It was a self-preservation. So you had people out there that didn't like you, didn't understand you, and they wanted to kill you. So you had to come up with some creative ideas to protect yourself, protect your religion, protect your group. And that was one of them. Because if it looks like you're 100 strong versus 10, the element of surprise. So, like, as we know, we'll say a sniper at night. Okay, as soon as he shoots, he gives off his location. So say I'm shooting this village and it looks like they're 100 strong. Chances are I'm going to hit the dummy first that's dressed up, because you can't identify that there's an adult there or someone underneath there. It just looks like one. So once I identify, I give my location off, and then say he has a gun, and then he shoots me dead. So it gives a probability. So that's why I explained that, and that's why we're in the news today. This guy, the Russian ambassador got shot and killed today. So I don't make these things up. And more times than not, I am correct. I've lived it. I studied it. It's my love and passion, understanding things. Okay, so Adam and Eve. Now this is just the beginning, because this is duly noted, part 10a. So the question is, do you want me to continue on? Do you want me to break it down in all of the chapters of the Bible? Do you want me to also include in the future the 2 more other books that were adjacent to the book that you have? Same way with the Quran. Okay, that was just the beginners. Just like when you go to school, you have kindergarten, then you got 1st grade, 2nd grade. So that's your opening. But this planet here, you're here because you're training to be a leader. You represent 1% of the life that's out there. So like Jesus and Muhammad who came here, when you look at it, they were teachers, they were leaders. Why would they be here? Because they're here to teach you how to be a leader. So you made that choice at some point or another. You say, well, you kidnapped me. You brought me to this planet. No, well, you could say that, I suppose. But you chose that tree of good and evil. I mean, positive and negative. And then you had to make that initial thing. And then energy in the eye says, okay, they're qualified. Let's move them over here. And that's essentially why you're here. You've established yourself. Some people, like what we're seeing today is with the Democrats. They feel as if everything belongs to them. And you see that with just a lot of people. They feel, because I exist, okay, you have to earn certain positions. When they teach you, when you die, you go to heaven, as if it's some freaking baseball. When you get to heaven, what are you going to think? You're going to sit around in a lounge chair all day and do nothing? And God says, Motisa, Motisa. Hell no. He's going to say, you better get off your ass because there ain't no slackers here. You better learn how, you're expected to learn. You're expected to develop yourself and fine-tune yourself. And at your pace, you have all these resources. Okay, so essentially you're training to be a leader. So when we go to these other planets out there, in this planet we're superior because of the diversity. Diversity. That's never been happened before. Ever. Since the existence of energy. So there's something, historical is an understatement. We make it past 2021 on January the 2nd. We have done a historical that has never been done. You say lighting up the planets. Well, it happens every so many billions of years. I can tell you what's happening now